Good morning, fourth grade families. Today is NTI day 31 and it's Monday. The sun is out. Hope you all had a great weekend. Typically, if we were in the classroom, after we did our 10 to 15 minutes of silent read, we would pull sticks. So I want you to think right now, if I pulled your stick right now, what is something you would tell me from your weekend? Okay, all right, I'll let you have two things. Go ahead, tell me, what are those two things you want to tell me about your weekend? Let me tell you about mine. Saturday was a fabulous day. We knew the weather was going to change in the afternoon, so it was a perfect day for a fabulous day for me. In the morning, did a lot of gardening and even made a new flower bed, which is actually going to be a strawberry bed. And in the afternoon, I spent the afternoon baking a cake and reading a book. It is a fabulous day when that happens. Made a new recipe. It's a lemon cake and it was pretty good. So, glad you had a good weekend and we're off and going. I want to encourage you, stay strong, keep going. The NTI packets you're going to be okay. Keep going. All right. So let's take a look at today's NTI packet. And I'm looking at the checklist, and in reading this week we're going to be focusing on poetry, figurative language, different components of figurative language. Math, today you're looking at lines, rays, and angles. And science, natural resources. And today's special is PE. You'll be creating your own workout. You'll be looking at food labels. And there is a fitness calendar. Don't skip over the specials work. All right. Think of it like a regular school day. Today we'll be reading a poem titled Wind in reading. And that's where we're going to start. Now, when you see a piece like this, go ahead and open your packet with me. You'll see lots of extra information on the side in boxes. And aside from the actual text itself, the poem, make sure you are reading that information. Okay, that's really important. So you know what? I think that's so important that I'm going to read all the extra information on the side on both pages before we read the passage itself. And then maybe it'll help you hear different things as we go. So we are on the page that starts Wind. Rhyme. Rhyming words in most poems follow a repeated pattern. What is the rhyming pattern in this poem? How is the pattern of rhyme in this poem the same as the pattern in the previous poem? How is it different? Context clues. Context clues are words or phrases that can help you figure out what a word means. In the first line of the poem, the poet says that the wind shouts. Look at the context clues. What do you think the poet means by saying that the wind shouts? Word meaning. A rover is someone who wanders from place to place. Why does the poet describe the wind as a rover? I'm going to continue to the next page with the same information. Figurative language. Figurative language is language used in a way that is different from a word or phrase's usual meaning. It is used to create a picture in the reader's mind or to make a comparison that helps the reader see ordinary things in a new way. To what does the poet compare the wind in this poem? Personification. Personification is a kind of figurative language that gives human feelings and actions to something that is not human. The he in this poem is the wind. The poet says the wind shouts and steals. What are some of the other human-like things the poet says the wind can do? Mood. The poet says she likes all kinds of wind. The word glee communicates a positive, happy mood. What other words suggest a positive mood in this poem? Remember, we've talked about figurative language some, and it is usually what I have at the end of the school year, so we haven't spent tons of time there, but enough. Figurative language is painting the picture for you. It's using creative ways for you to see what you're reading, to smell what you're reading, to taste what you're reading, using all your senses as a reader. Allow yourself to not get caught up in all the words as much as experiencing it. And that's really what it is. Reading poetry is an experience. Personifications, what grand fun. Thinking about a tree. If a tree walks across the field, that's personification, because we know a tree can't really do that. All right. Context clues, context clues, context clues. It's not always about knowing the dictionary definition of a word. It's always understanding what the writer is trying to express to you. And using those context clues help you do that. Helps you feel what's being felt. All right, so let's read the poem itself. Wind by Amy Lowell. He shouts in the sails of the ships at sea. He steals the down from the honey bee. He makes the forest trees rustle and sling. He twirls my kite till it breaks its string. Laughing, dancing, sunny wind, whistling, howling, rainy wind. North, south, east, and west. Each is the wind I like the best. He calls up the fog and hides the hills. He twirls the wings of the great windmills. The weathercocks love him and turn to discover his whereabouts, but he's gone, the rover. Laughing, dancing, sunny wind, whistling, howling, rainy wind. North, south, east, and west. Each is the wind I like the best. Before we go to the next page, notice at the bottom there are words that have little numbers by them. And when those words were used in the passage, they had a little number. Like the first one was down. And it was in the second line. It says, he steals the down from the honeybee. And if you go down here, it tells you that down means pollen. And if you were thinking about when you were reading it, you would think, what would a honeybee have that could be stolen? And that definitely would be the pollen, right? And then when we got down to line 11, it says, the weathercocks love him and turn to discover. And a weathercock is a weather vane shaped like a rooster. Think about on the top of an old barn or something. Okay, moving on. And if you didn't know what those were when you read it the first time, go back and reread it so that gives you some more understanding. The pine trees toss him their cones with glee. The flowers bend low in courtesy. Each wave flings up a shower of pearls. The flag in front of the school unfurls. Laughing, dancing, sunny wind. Whistling, howling, rainy wind. North, south, east, and west. Each is the wind I like best. That was really nice. Think about it. How would you talk about the wind or describe the wind? And what things does the wind affect? Okay, so also on the checklist, you'll notice that there were some videos to go along with that related to context clues and personification and figurative language, poetry theme, poetry mood, and rhyme. So take a look at those. Okay, we see our math, lines and angles and rays. Read the information. It is key that you are reading looking at the examples and reading the information at the tops of the pages on the math. It will help get through the rest of the page. And the last thing we have today, well, not the last, the next thing we have is your science. So go ahead and turn to that page. It is chapter 7, the rock cycle. And with that passage, you'll once again have 6 multiple choice questions, and then you have an open response question. Make sure you're reading each thing carefully. Don't skimp on that open response question. You're given an entire page to write on. Use it. Here we go. Natural resources. Natural resources are any materials found in nature that people can use to meet their needs. Some natural resources are soil, rocks, trees, and other plants and animals. Many of the resources people use are in limited supply. Some are reusable resources or resources that can be used again and again. Resources such as water, carbon dioxide, oxygen, and nitrogen are reused in natural cycles. People's actions can make certain other materials reusable. For example, recycling cans makes aluminum reusable. Other resources cannot be used again and again. Wood burned in a fireplace is gone forever. However, seeds from the tree that the wood came from can grow into new trees, replacing the wood that was used. Such resources are called renewable. A field of wheat can be replanted after the crop has been harvested. Resources are considered renewable if they can be replaced within a human lifespan. Some materials once used are gone forever. These resources that cannot be replaced within a human lifespan are called non-renewable resources. Many energy resources, materials that we use for fuel, are non-renewable. Coal and oil are two of these. Coal formed over millions of years from plant matter that was buried. Oil also formed over millions of years. Trees are renewable, but an old growth forest is not. After a forest has been cut down, it takes hundreds of years to grow back to its old form. In some areas, groundwater is a non-renewable resource. Water is pumped from the ground faster than it can be replaced. Rock and soil take a long time to form. Rock and the metals that come from ones within rocks are non-renewable. Some soils, such as clay, are used for building. Much soil is used for growing crops. It is used and eroded faster than it forms. Your open response question. Hint: think carefully about how you use resources daily. Examine the chart on the next page. The column headings name different categories of natural resources. A. Look at the following list of natural resources and write them under the correct column headings. You may use some of the natural resources in more than one column. You may use some of the natural resources in more than one column. There's your list, and then there's the chart on the next page. Now, don't stop there. Make sure you go to part B. That's what you're going to fill in on the rest of that page in word and sentence form. B. Explain how you use one resource from the building materials column and one resource from the fuel column each day. If you're not sure, look around you. Step outside, look around you, and maybe ask some questions. Ask your parents, call your grandparents, but ask someone, say, how do I use building materials every single day? I'll bet you'll get some good conversation. Finally, you have your PE for today. Make sure you're taking a look at that and you're working on it. And don't leave it blank. All right. So that's what we have today. It looks like some great information. Do some more, watch the videos, learn more, ask questions. If you can't find the answers when you're asking questions, get online and start looking some things up. Okay? Learn more facts, more information. All right. Well, I hope you have a fabulous day, and I'll see you tomorrow.